So the only thing we can know about disease with absolute certainty is the symptoms. So then as a practitioner, the only thing you need to be worried about are symptoms, because the symptoms are how we conceptualize or know that the disease is there. And the only way we understand the whole of the disease is by understanding all of the symptoms. It's the best approximation we can get. But again, not the disease. So symptoms are not the disease, but they are how we know the disease is there, right? Hey guys, it's Brittany. So Aphorism 6 today. It's exciting. Aphorism 6 is where Hahnemann introduces his concept of disease and how he looks at disease, how he looks at symptoms. So to me, it's vitally important we really understand what he's saying here, because it's the foundation that he builds upon in a lot of future aphorisms. Essentially, if we don't understand what he means by disease, then we're never really going to understand what he means when he talks about disease later, right? First, though, let's recap where we've been. Since it's only Aphorism 6, we can recap all the aphorisms before us. It's not that far in. So, Aphorism 1, what is a physician called to do? What is the highest calling of a physician? Aphorism 2 is an ideal cure. Aphorism 3 is all the different types of stuff a physician needs to know in order to effectively create a cure. Aphorism 4 is about lifestyle and hygiene, how important that is in order to maintain our health. Not to cure it, but to maintain it. Aphorism 5 always feels a little bit out of place to me. It feels more like a tip. It's about paying attention to the etiology of disease and the large phases in a chronic disease and how important that is in order just to help us effectively cure. So then in Aphorism 6, what is disease? All right, so first, let's read the aphorism. The unprejudiced observer, well aware of the futility of transcendental speculations, which can receive no confirmation from experience, be his powers of penetration ever so great, takes note of nothing in every individual case of disease except the changes in health of the body and of the mind, morbid phenomena, accidents, or symptoms, which can be perceived externally by means of the senses. That is to say, he notices only the deviations from the former healthy state of the now diseased individual, which are felt by the patient himself, remarked by those around him, and observed by the physician. All these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. That is, together they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. Footnote. I know not, therefore, how it was possible for physicians at the sickbed to allow themselves to suppose that, without most carefully attending to the symptoms and being guided by them in the treatment, they ought to seek and could discover only in the hidden and unknown interior what there was to be cured in the disease, arrogantly and ludicrously pretending that they could, without paying much attention to the symptoms, discover the alteration that had occurred in the invisible interior and set it to rights with unknown medicines. And that such a procedure as this could alone be called radical and rational treatment. Is not, then, that which is cognizable by the senses in diseases through the phenomena it displays the disease itself in the eyes of the physician, since he can never see the spiritual being that produces the disease, the vital force, nor is it necessary that he should see it, but only that he should ascertain its morbid actions, in order that he may thereby be enabled to cure the disease. What else will the old school search for in the hidden interior of the organism as a prima causa morbi, whilst they reject as an object of cure and contemptuously despise the sensible and manifest representation of the disease, the symptoms that so plainly address themselves to us? What else do they wish to cure in disease but these? The aphorism itself, then, is really about that we are only taking into consideration things that are truly symptoms. These are not personality traits. They're not things that are just weird about the person, which homeopathy has a sort of reputation of doing. But these need to be objective or subjective symptoms. They need to be morbid phenomena. They need to be perceptible to the senses. They need to be something the physician can observe or the patient can observe. And yeah, just like not the fact that they like the color green. Now, the reason I think that homeopaths get this sort of reputation for, funny symptoms. Like the fact that thirst is a symptom. But the part of this aphorism that I think gets lost in that conversation is the changes in health, right? If you are never thirsty and all of a sudden you are chugging water, that's a symptom because it's a change in your state, right? If you were always a very nice person and now you're a jerk, the fact that you've changed into a jerk is important. But if you are always a jerk and suddenly you're super nice, the fact that you're super nice is a symptom, right? We need to be paying attention to changes. This, of course, doesn't really work for babies who have nothing to change. They were, just entered this universe. But for that, you have to go to sort of, what is normal for humans in general. So, aphorism 6, only include truly symptomatic things in your list of symptoms for your case analysis, right? Or basically, to bring it back more to the aphorism, to include in your list of what is the disease, only things that are truly, truly symptomatic, not anything about the person. So the way people talk about this often is the idea of an unprejudiced observer, which is from Hahnemann's essay, The Medical Observer, which essentially is a continuation of this aphorism. So you can read the Medical Observer, where he talks about being an unprejudiced observer and how difficult that is, because the reason an aphorism like this is important is because all of our biases will create our reality. They filter what we're seeing. Somebody comes in who hates, and maybe you hate blondes, and the blonde person comes in front of you, you're gonna be hearing and seeing things differently because they're blonde. And we want to eliminate that as much as possible in medicine, right? We want it to be as objective as possible and sticking to facts as much as possible. His essay, The Medical Observer, is a lot about how to train that as a skill and how difficult that is and how rare it is to truly be an unprejudiced observer. And I think we can all sort of agree that's still true today, because it's just a very hard thing to do, but it's something we should all be aiming for in medicine. Now, the second part of this aphorism, it's really just at the end where he talks about, where is it? I'm just looking at it. So the very last sentence, all of these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. They form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. So I'll say that again. All these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. Together they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. So this is very important. To Hahnemann, and he continues this in the footnote, the symptoms are not the disease, but they're the only thing we can know about the disease. So whatever causes disease, we cannot know. So this hunt for a root cause is useless as far as he's concerned, because we're never really going to know what that is. It's, and think about it, everybody's got different reasons they think why they become ill. They went outside and it was cold. They were touched by the devil. They caught a virus. I mean, you can make up all kinds of ideas about what the cause is. And it's just, to a large extent, completely unknowable. And I shouldn't say to a large extent, I think it is always completely unknowable. Because even if you say, oh, I caught a virus, well, what made you susceptible to that virus? Because not everybody gets that virus. And what caused that susceptibility in the first place? Maybe it was because you grew up next to a factory. Well, what are you going to do about that, really? And not everybody who lived next to the factory got the susceptibility, so that's not even really truly the cause. And why is there only one cause? There could be many causes, yada, yada, yada. Cause is unknowable. To Hahnemann, his view of disease, cause is unknowable, okay? So it's just, don't even think about it. It's not important. Just ignore it. Obviously, I'm being a little bit simplistic, but not by much. And so the only thing we can know about disease with absolute certainty is the symptoms. So then as a practitioner, the only thing you need to be worried about are symptoms, because the symptoms are how we conceptualize or know that the disease is there. And the only way we understand the whole of the disease is by understanding all of the symptoms. It's the best approximation we can get. But again, not the disease. So symptoms are not the disease, but they are how we know the disease is there, right? Okay, I hope that was clear. And that's Aphorism 6. Okay, symptoms do not equal disease. Cause is irrelevant. The only thing that is relevant as a practitioner is the symptoms. And we need to be an unprejudiced observer to make sure that what we are seeing and deciding our symptoms are truly symptoms. They are not figments of our imagination or anything like that. Oh, and the last thing I will add is that he talks about the futility of speculation. Now, I don't believe, nor I think that he did think that it's that the problem is not that speculation is incorrect. The problem is speculation could get you into trouble. That the only thing that is truly factual about something is the symptoms, and when you're talking about a practitioner, the only thing you should be worried about are the symptoms. You making up beautiful theories about why someone's ill can be correct. He did it, right? He created his theory of miasms and chronic disease. But that is always secondary to the facts of what you see before you, which is the symptoms. All right? So, hope that helps. Till next time.